Evening, everyone. This is the first episode of the Financial Drag Show. You can see April Fresh. She is the one and only drag queen that is on today. There will be some in the future, but you also have my best friend and co-founder, Nicole Powers of the 55th Degree. Today, we're going to be talking about finance and the Fisk mobile tipping application and how it will help you create a financial safety net going forward. Hi, guys. How are y'all doing?
I'm good. How about you?
So this is our first episode. I figure we might want to give us a little bit of an introduction of who we are. It doesn't matter who starts.
You start.
Well, to let y'all know about, we are not financial planners. I do have a background in economics and finance from the University of Florida. That's the reason why I love numbers, and I like looking at the way you spend money and the way everybody in the country spends money. And I think that the reason why Nicole and I created Fisk Mobile Tipping is to help the country out. And we've been going along for almost 2 years on that project. And this was the brainchild of me in order to get the word out that we have an application and we like to have different people that are using the application. And April Fresh, we could cut
either
that.
one. I will go by either.
Either one. So I've met Locke and I've known Nicole for 5 years. And Locke, I think I've known you or April Fresh for what?
Goodness, a lot.
Close to the same amount of time.
Yeah, at least.
Where are you from, Locke?
I am from Orlando, Florida. And I am 51 years old. I'm from here and I work here. I was bartended for 25 years at the same nightclub and did a little bit of drag. And then when that nightclub closed, everywhere hired me for drag. So now I'm a full-time drag queen. So I feel like this Fisk mobile tipping app could potentially be very beneficial to me.
And Nicole, where are you from and what's your background?
I am from Tampa, Florida, and I'm the current COO at the 55th Degree, the company creating Fisk Mobile Tipping. And excited to hear, April, that you're excited for the app to come out, and we're really looking forward to a lot of different performers, drag queens, and members from our community really benefiting from the financial security of it. And it's a first of its kind, and tipping never was looked at as a form of wealth building and security. It was just something you got to take home that night in your pocket, and maybe it was gone the next day, depending on what you did that night. So
Correct.
this is really a chance to make a tip worth more, as we like to say at Fisk.
That's true. You know, in my past careers, I have been a massage therapist and we did get a lot of tips.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, back in those days, I think that was almost 20 years ago, all my tips came home and went inside a jar until I needed it. And it wasn't accruing any interest.
I think putting tips in a jar is probably better than 80% of people that are getting tips right now.
This is probably true. I wish we sometimes had the access to the viewers to ask them questions, what they do with their money when they get it. If you're a server, a bartender, and you get tips after you get off work and you go out with your friends, do you consider that money spending money?
Yeah,
or is it got to go to bills?
I was a server for like 5 or 6 years, and man, if I had rent coming due, and I didn't have enough, you better believe it, I was working hard that night to try and make it. Tips can be seen as spending money. They can be seen as your only income. They can be seen as a lot of different things. It just depends what you need them for.
Yes, very true.
Now, I'm going to call you April from now on. It's easier to stay.
Oh, yeah.
Have
Sounds
to change
good.
the name on the LinkedIn so it says April. So because I glance over at it every once in a while. But you worked as a bartender for years.
Correct.
What were you doing for retirement? Did the establishment even offer retirement?
Where I worked did not offer it, but I have with my I guess it would be Wells Fargo. I think I can say that. Not Wells Fargo, State Farm. I have set up a life. It doubles. It's a life insurance policy for my husband as well as retirement for me. So it's one of those 10-year life pays. So you pay on it whatever you decide, you put that much money in every month for 10 years, then you stop paying and then it starts accruing.
Now,
So yeah.
when did you start doing that? Were you at a young age when you did that, or did you go, uh-oh, I need to start saving, and I was in my mid-30s or my early 40s?
I was around 40, a little 42, I think, because I think I only have one more year to pay on it. And I just turned 51. So I felt like other people that have these 401ks and have these retirement, benefits, that's not something that with what I have done for a living that is automatically set up in my, when I get hired and fill out the paperwork. So I'm like, let me do something by myself to get that ball rolling.
Nicole, you graduated a lot further behind me. Nicole's a little bit younger, guys. Smart as a tack. When did you start saving for retirement? And do you follow any specific rules like the 50-20-30 rule, or do you just invest on your own? How do you do it?
Yeah, so during undergrad, I made some friends with some really smart people who were trading in the index funds like the Dow and the S&P, and I really didn't know much about it. I know that my parents had stocks, and I heard terms like, oh, your grandmother lives off of her dividends, and I was, I didn't really know too much other than it was something to do with New York City and Wall Street, and didn't really think that a 19 or 20-year-old could really get involved in it. But some smart kids were talking to me about it and showing me, oh, you could buy stocks from this website. And back then, you said you called me young, but Robinhood didn't exist, or any apps where you could buy stock from. So we had to do it what I call the old-fashioned way, is actually use a computer and go to a website, not call a broker, not that old-fashioned. But yeah, so I started buying stocks and and selling them and losing money and making money, and kind of learning about finance through practice.
And to let all our viewers know, when you're younger, I'm over 50 as well. You think that you've got a real clear picture on how everything works. Every 10 years you get older, you start to go, wow, I thought I knew what I was doing. And eventually, when you get to a certain age, you do have a good grasp and you start to want to save. We created Fisk Mobile Tipping so you could start early. The concept of our mobile application that is coming out splits your tips and puts a small portion onto or in an investment account. We would love to let you know what investment account that is, but since we're not financial advisors, we cannot do that.
You get to pick it yourself. Pick
Yes.
whatever you want.
People will be able to divert their funds to where they want it. But the nice thing about it is we will be able to do that automatically when you get your tips based upon our QR code process and the way the application is set up.
And I was just thinking, April, I'll ask you, but like obviously leaving with cash is super nice. It's something you could spend that night or the day after, but when it comes to saving, as we know, it's not great. But I think even just the ability to have, like, yeah, it's great to split some of your tips into an investment account, but I think even having some of those tips onto a virtual card for you is even kind of saving in that way, since it's not in your hands, ready to be spent. I mean, it is when you think of your phone as a wallet, but I feel like even just the aspect of having tips quantified in like a virtual card is somewhat beneficial for saving too.
Right. I think it's great. That does lead me to a question though.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to mention there are other tipping apps already, like
Yeah.
Venmo and
Name
Cash
them.
App.
Yeah.
They can now, of course, those it's just kind of a wash. You get money on there and then you spend it off of there.
Mhm.
When someone has it set up on their phone and there's a QR code, how would how if they don't, if they're new to Fisk and they don't even know what it is, how easy is it going to be for them once it actually launches for them to just get it on their phone, so that I can be like, hey, can you tip me on Fisk? And they'll be like, sure. Is it as easy as a button?
Yeah.
Or is it something they sign up for?
Jessica, do you want me to answer that?
Well, in the very beginning, everything starts. It's going to be a little bit more involved setting up this application. If you have an account set up with an investment firm, you will be able to take that account number and put it into the app in our payment processor that we work with, that signs up for the debit card. It's where we become a neobank, so we have to follow all the regulations.
Hold on. I think she was just asking like the simplicity of tipping.
That's I was trying to say that once it's set
Yeah.
up, people, it's going to be simple to log into the app, but they are going to have to potentially in the beginning go down and get an account if they do not have one at a local investment firm.
Oh, hold on. I think
Gotcha.
April is still,
It's
correct me if
still
I'm
up.
wrong. I think you're just asking about the simplicity of sending you a Fisk, and yeah, it can be done
Yes.
through an anonymous gateway, which is really cool, and we can talk about that further. Like, they don't need to have Venmo or PayPal.
Gotcha.
They don't need to have Fisk, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool. They just scan your QR code and go. But if
Okay.
it's somebody that has a Fisk account, we're working on technology that offers contactless payments. But other than that, it's as simple as you have now, where you scan someone's QR code and you get it.
Oh, very nice. That sounds
Yeah.
easy. It sounds like it will be very user friendly.
Yeah, Jessica, I think you were kind of going on more towards
The
the
initial
ease
setup.
of putting it in an investment account. Is that right?
Yeah, well,
Gotcha.
it's more the initial investment. This is something that has never been done before, automated wise. And since we're trying to allow people to have an open platform on the back end where you can invest in what you want to invest, it is, if you wanted it to go to Robinhood, Charles Schwab, Edward Jones, Merrill Lynch, you have to go and set that account up and then bring their account number into ours, into the application. So it's automatically doing that, but it's going to be simple. You scan a QR code and you can pay somebody either being a Fisk member or from outside of the Fisk app with Apple Pay and Google Pay. Nicole, you want to explain how that works?
Yeah, so again, it's just the anonymous gateway, or through scanning a QR code, you can choose whether you want to pay someone with a credit or debit card or with Apple or Google Play.
When she says anonymous debit card, and the reason why Nicole and I have that terminology is it's going to be a transaction that is recorded without giving user to user information. And a lot of times you don't, if in Venmo, you have to become friends with them in order to give them money. And a lot of times you don't want to give up your information in certain applications. This allows that transaction to go through, and it is encrypted. So I look at it as a safety feature. Anybody who is a young girl serving, you don't want to become friends with everybody.
Well, April down there is a young girl serving.
That's right.
April, you're a young girl serving looks.
Something like
Um,
that.
Yeah, no, I think that Jessica is on the right path with, it is a safety feature.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure you have some very, let's call them dedicated fans
I
who,
do. Exactly.
who you don't necessarily want to know everything about you, maybe not
Correct.
even your legal name. So,
Right.
so yeah, it's just something cool, something unique that makes Fisk a bit different, as if we don't have enough already. But one of my questions to you, April, was you obviously are not the only queen performing at a lot of these nightclubs and
Correct.
restaurants and all these different venues. Would you say that the majority of the queens that you work with are younger, or are
Yes,
they
I would say my age or younger.
your age or younger? And what, like, are there conversations about, like, girl, you made $100, girl, you made $200, like, what are you gonna do with it? Are there any conversations of what are you gonna do with that?
It's very interesting as somebody who kind of sits back and observes the other girls in the show, because some people, like, I've owned my house for over 20 years. I've Some people are my age and are still living in an apartment. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but everybody just has their own different things. And I'm the type that I like to have enough in my account to cover next month's bills and hopefully the month after that. Where
Mm.
some people I know are really hand to mouth, and they're like, oh, I got to make a lot of money in order to get my bills paid. So it's very interesting because it's not always the young ones that are living hand to mouth. It's kind of all over the place. It's a very interesting world we live in.
Well, Nicole and I noticed, and we've done a lot of market research in the past 2 years, and
Mhm.
I've asked everybody that I could, get a hold of, what did you learn about finance in high school? And majority of the people said nothing. So
Right.
we, in the way Nicole and I look at it, that might be one of the reasons why everybody in the country has not saved up, because they didn't know what to do.
They
And
weren't trained.
well, we weren't taught, and then when you don't know, you don't want to admit that you don't know what you're doing, so you kind of be quiet, and then all of a sudden 10 to 15 years goes by and you're like, oh my God, I'm 35 to 40 years old, what do I do? And you talk to your friend, they're
Yeah.
like, you didn't start saving a long time ago. And that's why Nicole and I created the app, is to help out a lot of the younger generation start early, really
Yes.
early.
I
And
think it's brilliant.
it's been a fun ride. We've got multiple weeks to explain more of this. We've got a wrap up here very soon.
Mhm.
This is our first episode of the Financial Drag Show. It will get a little bit better. We have some guests coming on. We have actually financial advisors coming on. Next week, we should have another performer coming in to replace April Fresh while she is on vacation.
I am.
And Nicole and I are here for the long haul. And we do have another podcast that talks about how to create a fintech. We enjoy explaining what we're doing. Locke, or April Fresh, I thank you for coming on our first show. Does anybody else
Absolutely.
anything have to say before we take off?
So do you have a tagline for April Fresh? Like, is there something that you say at all your performances that you can leave us with?
I can, because I have been voted by Central Florida as their favorite local drag queen for
Love it.
2023. And of course, I'm going to be milking that way into 2024.
Excellent.
That's
Awesome.
amazing. Congrats.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
we
Thank
will
you.
be back, everyone, weekly. This is going to be a weekly show. As soon as we can get it edited, we'll put it on YouTube, and that's where you will be seeing it. And I'm sure April will be talking about it on stage. So
I
anyway,
Awesome.
it
absolutely
was
will.
awesome. This is Jessica,
And I'm Nicole.
And I'm April.
and it's the Financial Drag Show. Have a great night.